Hello everyone, it's me, your average bonehead, Jay, and today we'll be looking at the Powerpuff Girls Z. Yeah, somehow against all logic and reasoning, the Powerpuff Girls actually got an anime adaptation, titled the Powerpuff Girls Z. Okay, so personal history time. I actually never saw the original Powerpuff Girls during its original run. I was too busy having my mind warped by Bad Thomas episodes.
The railway inspector arrives today, Sir Topham Hatt said.
What's a railway in spectacles? Percy asked.
How do you not know what one of those are, Percy? You're an engine. It wasn't till many years later I decided to actually give it a shot, and as anyone would expect from watching the show, I of course fell in love with it. Then when I heard there was an anime adaptation of it, I of course was curious and wanted to check it out. And to my surprise, it's actually good. Honestly, yeah, that was a bigger shock to me than it existing at all. The Powerpuff Girls Z is actually a really good show. On the same level as the original? God, no. But when you look at it on its own merits, I actually say the show is of pretty good quality. However, there are a few things that Z does that I actually think it handled a bit better than the original show. And one such thing being connected to the topic of today's video, how they handled the Rowdyruff boys. And my main example will be of the boys' second episode, the Rowdyruff Girls. But before we get started, here's a quick thing you should know about this version of the show. When adapting it, they turned it into a magical girl anime. I talk about those a lot, don't I? So rather than the girls being sisters, born through chemical X getting mixed in with sugar, spice, and everything nice, they were instead three regular girls who weren't even related that accidentally got blasted with rays of chemical Z. And they only obtained their original cartoon names once they actually transform into the Powerpuff Girls. Otherwise, in this version, they just have normal names. Screw it, I'm just sticking with Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup. Anyways, on to the episode. So the episode begins with the Powerpuff Girls being part of a good manners campaign. You know, simple things like look both ways before crossing the street, don't litter, don't answer your phone on the subway. The show takes place in Japan where that's a thing. Most people in the North Americas couldn't care less. But overall, they're spreading a positive image across the town. It is then the mayor tells them that they are to be making public appearances later that day, but Blossom and Buttercup feel overworked, though Bubbles states that this event could be fun.
How come we never get a say in this stuff? No one cares how we feel. It could be fun, right? We'll get to be up on stage and everything. It'll be like a fashion show.
The girls are then told by the professor, who is not their father in this version, though with the way they all are with each other, he may as well be, takes notice that after all the battles the girls have done, their clothes are dirty and need to be washed. He tries to figure out numerous ways to clean them, including putting them on, but it's then when we learn that the clothes conceal the identity of whoever wears them, as the professor's son could not recognize him. Oh yeah, he has a son in this version, who every time he speaks, all I hear is,
I'm homeschooled. My dad teaches me everything I need to know. In fact, I'm probably smarter than all of you put together.
The more chances you have of getting some kind of critter-sitting cutie mark. Am I right? Or am I right?
Luckily, these magical clothes conveniently have instructions on how to clean them on their tags. Conveniently. And then when he's done, the professor leaves them out to dry. It is then we see the Rowdyruff boys, Brick, Boomer, and Butch. Oh yeah, they're the main topic of the video. Now let me start this by saying I love the original Rowdyruff boys. I mean, who doesn't? They're fan favorites for a reason. Though I always believed them to be underutilized. Though to be fair, that is a problem in this show too. They only appear in their debut episode, this episode, and then again in the finale twice. But Z is only 52 episodes long. But back to my point, my main problem with the original Rowdyruff boys is that they're utilized more as an insta-conflict rather than characters. What I mean by that is that they don't really have a relationship with the girls, and what I mean by that is that the girls usually have interesting hero-villain relationships with their villains, where yeah, they have their cool fight scenes, but they also have moments where they talk and have the hero-villain banter with them, notably characters like Mojo Jojo or Princess Morbucks for an example. But when the Rowdyruff boys show up, they're just there to fight, and that's usually all of how their interactions with the girls go. I think the only thing similar to that would be him, but even then, whenever they deal with him, they still have moments where they can actually just talk. The boys do get some moments where they're not just fighting all the time, but they're not interacting with the girls in those moments, it's other characters like Mojo Jojo or him. Now, when it came to bringing the villains over to Z, a lot of them got nerfed into being ironically more cartoonish bad guys, more of jokes instead of legitimate threats. I mean, they're still feared by the people, but us watching knows that they really can't do anything. Take for example Mojo Jojo, who went from being a legitimate threat to, well, a legitimate threat, but definitely more of a joke in Z. He's still entertaining as always, but yeah, he's a lot more harmless in this version. The boys also received a hard nerf when it came to bringing them over to Z, as this incarnation of them is explicitly younger than the girls and somehow even less mature than their original counterparts. As in Z, the boys' plans are always undone by their fear of the girls giving them cooties by touching them, which is ironic considering how they act around them. Though because of this nerf, it ironically gives us more times where we can actually get more of the boys' personalities rather than just one big action scene. Which, I will admit, in the original, the fight scenes are objectively better than the ones from Z. Bottom line though, when it comes to the boys in the original, yeah, it's fun whenever they show up, but I think Z handles them interacting with the girls a lot better. Oh yeah, there was an episode we were talking about, let's get back to that. So, the boys' master plan is to steal the girls' clothes while they were drying. Yes, the boys in this episode pull a Team Rocket and cross-dress. The girls of course notice this, but are unable to stop them due to their clothes making the boys damn near indestructible. They manage to snag their weapons as well and fly off. Luckily, the professor has spare clothes they can use to chase after them, which Blossom and Bubbles aren't the biggest fan of, but Buttercup actually likes them.
Lame-o! The pantsuit kinda went out of style in the 70s. So what? I'm just glad I don't have to wear a dumb skirt for one.
Oh yeah, another thing I forgot to mention, a running gag in this show is that Buttercup hates skirts.
I have to wear a skirt! A stupid, ridiculous skirt! Oh, gross! That's totally uncool!
While the girls are figuring out how to get a handle of the new clothes, the Rowdyruff boys go around town causing chaos and undoing all the good nature and lessons the girls had taught earlier, due to the fact that, as shown earlier, the clothes conceal the identity of whoever wears them. And while what Boomer and Butch did were mostly just major inconveniences, I'm pretty sure Brick just killed a few people.
Block the street! Then you can cross over whenever you want!
Meanwhile, the girls, who are still being bogged down by the professor's lessons on how to use the new suits, end up hearing that they're causing chaos all across the city, and then immediately spring into action. Back with the Rowdyruff boys, the mayor ends up finding them, of course believing that they're the Powerpuff Girls, and this grown man takes 3 little boys he found off the street wearing skirts and puts them into his car and drives away. Let me rephrase that. Realizing this event will be on national television, the boys see this as the perfect opportunity to destroy the Powerpuff Girls' reputation once and for all. Luckily, the girls show up just in time, but even after telling everyone it's them and even proving it by showing that the boys can't even use the girls' weapons, no one believes that the Powerpuff Girls are the Powerpuff Girls. So the girls are kicked out. But then they also pull a Team Rocket and disguise themselves to get in and come up with various plans to try and trick the boys into revealing themselves. Unfortunately, all of them fail. Oh my god, they're not gonna— oh, sugar honey iced tea, there is a god. This show is weird. And at the same time, the boys continue to ruin the girls' reputation by being their usually immature—
When you see a tourist, just show him your butt. And you can wiggle it at him too, like this. We call it the New Townsville Salute. Make sure you give him a big smile too.
and overall gross selves. Once the girls confront them, the boys end up retreating into the skies, and the girls quickly follow suit. We get a little air battle that ultimately results in the girls losing due to the fact that they still don't know how to fully control these new clothes. And just when it looks like there's absolutely no way to defeat the Rowdyruff boys, Blossom and Bubbles gets the idea to use reverse psychology on them.
I guess I shouldn't be surprised. It's probably because you already look a lot like girls in the first place.
Buttercup soon picks up on this, and they all aim for below the belt.
Maybe we could be friends instead of fighting all the time. Yeah, we'll hang out together and wear pink stuff with hearts on it and play with puppies and everything. You guys are whack!
So with their fragile masculinity being even more destroyed, the boys quickly take off the girls' clothes, leaving the 3 of them in their underwear. I told you this show was weird. And now with the boys exposed, the girls send the 3 of them— well, I already made 2 Team Rocket references. Wanna go for a third?
At least we don't have cooties!
The girls return to the professor, who is still giving his lecture all day, and it turns out that because of the Rowdyruff boys' actions, the girls' reputation is only slightly destroyed. So all's well that ends well. As one would guess, the Powerpuff Girls Z is not nearly as the same level of quality as the original series, but I would still consider this to be a great show. While yes, it is easy to see where it lacks in a few places, I do think it does enough things that are slightly better than the original to make it so this show can stand on its own. Like I just said, the original is the superior show, but honestly, if you're curious, I recommend Powerpuff Girls Z. I personally love these shows pretty equally, honestly. And as you just saw, one of my main reasonings is how it handled some of my favorite characters from the original. To me, personally, this is my favorite incarnation of the Rowdyruff boys. Now, apparently it's been confirmed that the creator of the original show, Craig McCracken, is actually working on another reboot of the Powerpuff Girls, and apparently it's been stated that the Rowdyruff boys will have a slightly bigger role in this version. What that entails, we don't know. I always thought that the best way to utilize the boys more would to be honestly put them in the same class as the girls. It could lead to some interesting dynamics. We don't know what the future holds for this reboot, though I think we can all be sure of one thing. No matter how this reboot turns out, it will be infinitely better than the 2016 reboot and wherever the hell CW was making that thank God we ain't getting it anymore.
Good riddance.
Okay, but honestly looking back, what the hell even was the point of Powerpuff Girls 2016? I mean, this isn't even like a Teen Titans Go thing where you can make like a stupid argument that, oh, we just want to make a more comedy-focused version of the Teen Titans. The Powerpuff Girls and Powerpuff Girls Z are already action comedies that have a heavy focus on comedy, so what the hell was the point of any of this? Now, I'm your average bonehead Jay, and I wish you all good night.